Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life. You already know for the next couple hours, holding it down right here, breaking down everything that we saw in week 2, hoping that we get some phone calls here, some Monday Night Miracles that you guys need. Hopefully, all of you guys are in first place, though. You're 1-0, 2-0 now, Adam. It's an interesting week. We've got a lot to talk about, more specifically with Joe Burrow. But first of all, how you doing? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Obviously, it was a better week, more
A little bit.
scoring, higher
Yeah,
points. So we knew that would happen. And yeah, overall, it was pretty good.
it was fine. I don't my GST league is allergic to scoring, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
didn't
sure we
have as
can't
good.
trade?
Yeah, I know. We
Are
should
you
we should
sure?
start trades because I have
I
a
might
couple
I might
holes.
on
I
the
could use
side
some
be like,
trades.
"Oh, look it looks like Brian Thomas Jr. is being dropped. Maybe someone else could drop someone good." Now it's brutal. I cannot score points in that league.
It's only 2 weeks. Again, there's a lot
I
of
know.
people that are going through similar situations right now, and it could easily turn around. The biggest thing is not to get discouraged no matter how bleak it looks because again injuries are going to occur and that will open up opportunities weaken some teams, so just got to keep going.
Just got to keep going. That's the motto here for Fantasy Life. As always, fantasylife.com. Want to point you in that direction. We'll have the utilization report live and talking with Dwayne McFarland tomorrow. But anything you need to get yourself ready for the end of week 2, going into week 3, we are here. And yes, you said it, Adam. It was a little bit of a better week here, but I know Joe Burrow managers probably will not feel the same way. Unfortunately, we just got bad news. There's no other way to put it on Joe Burrow. Reportedly, he does need toe surgery, and that means the timeline looks like he will miss at least 3 months due to this injury. And this was per Adam Schefter just this morning. We saw that he, sustained that injury during that game against Jacksonville. It was after a sack, and so we couldn't really tell what was happening, what was going on there. He was treated on the field, taken to the sideline to the medical tent, and then he, was trying to walk back to the locker room, needed help doing that. And so it's unfortunate. The Bengals did end up winning that game 31-27 going up against Jacksonville. Browning came in, was able to lead that team to a win. They have Brett Rippon on the practice squad as well, which will probably serve as Browning's backup. And then there were rumors today that they've been calling around, seeing what other players might be available. But just overall, a huge blow at him. You were hoping that it was gonna be just a shorter timeline for his injury, but 3 months means that you do just need to look at other options, and they'll probably be your quarterback for maybe the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's not good no matter how you try and dissect this here because Burrow was someone that you were taking early in drafts. Sometimes I saw him as early as the third quarterback off the board, generally the fifth, and you likely did not take a backup if it's a one quarterback league. If you have him in a super flex league, even more damaging. You're probably going to have to open the bank and spend on Jake Browning because,
Mm.
again, how many quarterbacks are available at this point in a super flex league? Like any quarterback that was starting and even some potential backups that we were hoping would emerge soon are taken. So
Yep.
you're probably going to have to just go heavily after Jake Browning just to keep your season alive. So yeah, it's not good. At least for yesterday, Jamar Chase did come through.
Yep.
Now we have seen in the past Jamar Chase typically not put up numbers with the backup quarterback, but we also saw a stretch for Jake Browning in 2023 where he wasn't bad. Look, we know he's going to turn the ball over, as we saw yesterday, but he also had several games of 300 passing yards during that
Mhm.
stretch in 2023. So he knows get the ball to Chase. It's obviously going to hurt T. Higgins a little bit, and it'll probably hurt Chase Brown as well. Basically, you're lowering expectations for those guys, considering where you drafted them, but you're still going to put them out there right now.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, we've seen this. He's been in this position before, starting, I believe, last time I checked, 7 games with the team when Joe Burrow was injured in 2023. And he performed well. He had 12 touchdowns against 7 interceptions, 70 completed 70.4% of his passes that season as well. But it's tough to overstate. Everyone listening knows, everyone that has Joe Burrow knows the importance that he brings to this Bengals team. When he's healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're just not going to get that same outing, that same performance, those same performances when you're looking at Browning. But if if you do need a quarterback and you did have Joe Burrow, yeah, I would think that Browning would be the guy that you go for, because we talked a lot last week about Daniel Jones, just saying, hey, put him on your team. Let's see what happens. And we'll break down what he looked like going up against the Denver Broncos. But it looked good. And so we'll see if they add anyone. Like I said, Brett Rippon is on the team's practice squad, so he will probably be the backup to Browning. And I think, as in terms of Browning, like just streamer territory, I think they have a tough string of games coming up. So maybe you have someone already on your bench that's a little bit better, because they play the Minnesota Vikings on the road, and then they play the Denver Broncos on the road as well for the next two, which is a little bit tough. Then they're back home against the Lions, on the road against the Packers, and then back at home against the Steelers. So a little bit of a tough stretch there.
Yeah, it definitely is. That doesn't sound really
No,
good
it
for
doesn't
them.
sound great. Ugh. Downgrade, like you said, downgrade. Well, I mean, T. Higgins more than Jamar Chase. If you have Jamar Chase, you're still throwing him out there. You're just hoping that they continue to connect. But T. Higgins, it depends on how far. I haven't even come close to looking at rankings, but it'll be interesting to see where he is in the ranks. And then again, if you have Chase Brown, you got him in a range where he's probably your best, if not the best running back on your roster. But again, just a blow for the Bengals. That stinks, because Joe Burrow, I mean, that was someone that was getting drafted, right? He was probably the last of the more elite quarterbacks, right? The fifth quarterback, like you said, sometimes people were taking a stand, wanted to get their stacks done. And so we're taking, Burrow third, fourth off the board there. But just, it sucks. We don't like injuries. I was going into this week, I was like, wow, okay, we don't, knock on wood, there's actually not that many this week. And then that one comes down, and it's just brutal, Adam.
Yeah, of all the ones to have, it Burrow is just brutal because he's fun to watch too. Even if you
Yeah.
don't have him on your fantasy team, even if you're not a Bengals fan, that's a fun team to watch from an offensive standpoint. So it's just terrible when you have one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL go down. And best case scenario is he comes back for the fantasy playoffs, and at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't even know if you're going to be in there. So yeah, if you have Burrow and you don't have an IR spot, I think you drop him.
They have to win, though. That's the thing. It's a
Yeah.
good thing they're 2-0 right now. That's the big thing, is that they're in a good spot where if they really can continue to win, like let's say what, so from now until 3 months, they need 8 wins. 8 more maybe, to kind of 8 wins to solidify it. And then if Joe Burrow is able to come back, then we could say, all right, if they're in a spot where they can win, get to the playoffs, it feels like more than likely he will try to come back sooner rather than later with the 3-month timeline. But if they're losing, if there's no shot, then there's no reason why they would put him back out there, risk of re-injury.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that they do fall out of it and that they don't even bring him back. So that's the risk on waiting on him if you have no IR spots. I think it's an easy drop. You just have to move on
Yeah.
and forget it.
Just brutal. Brutal. What are we doing? Week 2? We can't have nice things? Ugh.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the
You
way
have
it
them in
goes
a lot
sometimes.
of places?
I have them in two leagues. One is a super
That's a
flex.
lot.
Oh, you do? You
No,
have
no,
a
no,
lot?
you. No, I was
Oh,
saying
I mean,
two
two.
is kind of, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, the super flex one is a problem. So
Yeah.
I
What are
was
you gonna
able
what are
to
you gonna
escape
do
the
there?
week. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
you
have to
won?
spend, all my money
Oh
on
my.
Browning.
Yuck. I mean, he was able to help that team win, yeah, yesterday. And we've seen it before. So there's worse options out there, is what I want to say in my optimistic viewpoint. But the next two games are brutal. I mean, you're gonna go up against the Vikings, who, that defense, we'll talk about that game last night. We know what that defense brings. And then the Broncos, who are just, I'm probably still going to be pissed after the Colts game 2 weeks from now. It's just, yeah, it's not the best, but it's okay. You can still make it out of this alive. That's the point we want to drive home.
Yeah, or you could fall apart. That's the
Stop.
other no.
Stop. We're being
Now look,
positive. We're being optimistic.
there's nothing you could do with injuries, right? You could sit there
No.
and sulk for a little bit, but at the end of the day, you just got to move on and just put forth your best effort on the waiver wire if you're in a league with trades. It's really hard, I think, to trade for quarterbacks in a super flex league unless you have that one person who hoarded 3 or 4 good quarterbacks for this exact scenario. When we always tell them
Course.
it's not going to work, and now they're like, "Oh,
And
well, it
now
looks like you need a quarterback. I have Daniel Jones is my third. What do you want for him?"
And now
So
they're going to add us and say, look at this. Look at what I've done. Is there so the interesting thing, if we're talking about trades right now, if you're in a good spot with your team, that's the other part. Like, if someone with Joe Burrow on their roster knows that they have a team that can compete and that's done well, at least throughout the first 2 weeks, you still have Jordan Addison, who hasn't played yet. You have an Xavier Worthy who's still just a few weeks away from being able to play. I mean, are some of those guys that could potentially still be on your bench tradable for quarterbacks to you, or is it, I know it always just depends on the team and the league and what they want, but I'm sure people are going to start getting those trade requests this week if they do have multiple quarterbacks that they can use as pawns for a big trade.
So if you're in a league with you starting one quarterback, I think you're going to go to the waiver wire. I don't think you're going to make a trade. There usually is enough options. It gets more challenging in the super flex leagues. And do you even have enough to get a deal done? Is there a team that wants to get, even if a team has three good quarterbacks, they might not want to make a trade because of a potential injury situation. Like I'm sure Daniel Jones is the third quarterback in a lot of super flex leagues. He might actually move up to their two now, and they might be playing him every week. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I just glanced quickly at 2 leagues I'm in. The one Burrow owner has Daniel Jones as his backup, so he's going to be fine. Another one has Drake May. He's going to be fine.
Oh,
So,
all right.
yeah, but then, I'm in a super flex league where Burrow is my one and Bryce Young was my second. So,
Oh, that's tough.
I mean, at least
Man.
Bryce put up 355 and three
That's
touchdowns
true.
yesterday, or three, yeah, on
Didn't look
55
great,
pass
but
attempts. Yeah, it didn't look good, but I can't count on that every week. So, yeah,
no.
there's going to be certain scenarios where you're a little sunk and you just got to keep plugging away. Hopefully, your other positions are good enough to at least keep you in contention. And there could be another quarterback that emerges off the waiver wire, too, at some point in the next few weeks.
Don't give up. You heard us say that. We always say that before the season starts. Adam always says that, but you don't give up. We'll be here to help you at K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. We'll open up the phone lines here closer to the water cooler. But yeah, if you are getting those if you're looking at trading, if you're getting those trade requests, call us in this week and we'll be here to help. We can move unless you have anything else with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Anything else? You good on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we hit it all that we need to. Again, we'll be updating rankings closer to tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see where T Higgins, more specifically T Higgins, lands for Week 3. Cowboys Giants wanting to give us heart attacks. By the way, so the two teams I picked in Survivor, guess who they were? It was the Bengals and it was the Cowboys, and I was
You picked the
just
Bengals?
yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I wanted to use them. I was like, this is good because they do have a tougher schedule coming up. So I said, okay, this is the time for me to use them. I was rage walking around my house. I couldn't even look at them. I mean, the Cowboys, I was just mad. I was texting everyone. I was saying, I'm really going to lose with the two favorites of the week. But the Cowboys were able to pull it out for 40-37. That was thrilling going up against the New York Giants. I'm sure it was not thrilling for you going back and forth. They scored 41 combined points in the fourth quarter, 17 in the final 52 seconds of that game, Adam. And Russell Wilson was able to throw for 450 and three touchdowns. He actually had a career day. I mean, 123.1 passer rating, and was able to do it. You saw Dak Prescott 38 of 52, 361 and two touchdowns. Again, probably not thrilling for you, but it was thrilling to watch once the Cowboys were able to pull it out for a win.
Yeah, it was thrilling at the end. Obviously, that final minute was insane, letting Malik Nabers and Wandell Robinson get behind you. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Oh
But
my gosh.
in the end, it was an entertaining game for sure. The game of the day, the fantasy game of the day. So in the end, you got what you needed pretty much from anyone you started in this
Yes.
game. You got some big performances, even for Dak Prescott. It looked bleak early on because the Giants had the ball the entire game. In the first quarter, the Cowboys just didn't run any plays. The Giants offense was moving the football. They had to settle for a lot of field goals. They also had a drive where they had six penalties on the opening
Yep.
drive and still got a field goal.
That was I could
Yeah,
not believe that.
there
I
was
kept
four penalties on one
on one
play.
player and then on one player and then they benched him and he got
Hudson,
mad.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
there was a play where they had four penalties, like two on each team, and they offset.
that's
It was like, what is going
crazy.
on here? So, but in the end, a lot of production. I think you got to feel good too about your boy Cam Skattebo
Oh,
because
I sure
I don't
do.
know if that backfield is shifting a little bit, but we saw him get a lot more playing time
Yes. I
over
think
Tyrone Tracy.
it's too early to say he's the new lead back, but he led the Giants in offensive snaps in the second half.
Yeah.
I think there was a shift. And again, everyone knows. I went if you don't, I went to Arizona State. I love Cam Skattebo. So I always want to put my bias out there. I absolutely love him. I want him to do well in the NFL. But I will say I think it's difficult to trust either running back yet going forward with the evolving usage and everything that we saw, and the fact that I believe they're playing the Chiefs next, which is just a
Yeah,
little.
primetime game.
No, it's
Sunday
not.
night. Yeah.
It's not. Why would
Yeah.
they do that to us?
I don't know.
Giants prime time against the Chiefs?
Maybe they knew the Chiefs
What
would
did
be
they
0 and
think?
2 and they needed this
Needed
storyline.
a win. Oh my gosh, the script writers are just going for it. But I do think we saw a shift here. Again, it's kind of one of those things where I don't think it's fully happened yet, where you're looking at Skattebo and saying, okay, week 3, he's in must start territory. But yeah, it's one of those things where Tracy played over 70% of the offensive snaps in the first game and 90% of the third downs, 80% of the short yardage, and then it just all turned around. He had a slight lean due to third down plays, but that was basically what we saw according to PFF.
Yeah, and remember he missed a lot of training camp, so he was a little bit behind. So maybe this was their plan. I mean, at least with Tracy, he is a former receiver. Maybe he plays more in passing situations. He had 4 catches for 36 yards on 5 targets to really save his day because he did nothing on the ground, just 5 carries, 15 yards. So you can maybe look at it as a split in the immediate future, but it does lead to you believing that Skattebo could be the one to start in this backfield going forward. Again, it's only 2 weeks, so you want to see what happens next week, and it
Yeah.
is against the Chiefs, where again, I know the Chiefs have looked pretty bad offensively. They have played 2 pretty good teams so far, and they really need to get something done here against the Giants defense for sure in this
Yeah, no
matchup.
kidding. Skattebo was even with Tracy on late downs, 2-minute drill situations, but was obviously the clear lead on those early downs. And then Tracy really was just in the 2-minute drill situation. I'll be interested to see what the splits really are when we look at the utilization report. The one other, we'll continue talking about this game, but Javonte Williams, by the way, I feel like is another guy on your side with the Dallas Cowboys that we need to talk about because we were talking about it last week and we were like, okay, Javonte Williams, that actually looked pretty good. Let's see if it happens again. And it did. I mean, he finished with 25 fantasy points looking at ESPN scoring in that overtime win. And to me, even though we talked about week 1, it wasn't amazing. He was able to get in for 2 touchdowns, but I will say, Adam, like he does look kind of explosive, and like a Javonte Williams that maybe you can continue to trust. I think it's if you're a Javonte Williams manager, you're happy with what you're seeing at least in the beginning of the season.
I wouldn't say explosive, but he definitely looked a lot better than week 1. I was more impressed
Yeah.
with him here. And to me, basically, the Cowboys are telling you this is his backfield. They've told us this basically 2 weeks in a row now. Jaden Blue was healthy and active again. Miles Sanders was barely involved. Sanders had 7 touches for 19 yards, and he had the key fumble in week 1. So they're just going to roll with Javonte, and you hope that if you have him, that he can hold up. I mean, again, 24 touches in this game. The one thing we did see from him last year is he was good in the passing game.
Yeah.
He had 6 catches, 33 yards here on 7 targets. Again, this was a game where they ran, like 85 plays. So you don't expect that every week. But yeah, this was definitely another good sign for Javonte Williams. And if you did draft him round 8, round 9, maybe even round 10, you're feeling pretty good right now
Yeah.
because they are giving him all the opportunities in the backfield.
Yeah, shout out to Javonte Williams. Let's see if he can continue it, but I will guess that maybe he's going to be able to because they're going up against Chicago in week 3. So just a little preview there for you, Javonte Williams managers. We're going to continue on. You guys know what day it is. It is Overreaction Monday. If you guys have overreactions, make sure you're calling in, sending them our way at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. And we're going to continue overreacting, Adam. Got to talk about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, maybe the new Sam Darnold, the new Baker Mayfield. We're going to break that down and more here coming up next. It's an Overreaction Monday here, Adam, and I think we all know that maybe the biggest overreaction from week 1 to week 2. Hey, we don't have to worry about these lines. Shout out to our great producers, by the way. They're crushing it with us. And yeah, I think the lines are going to be a-okay. What do you think? Probably.
Yeah, look, we knew that coming out of week 1, and especially after watching Green Bay again on Thursday, it was like, okay, this defense is going to be a problem for some teams. But Detroit coming home against Ben Johnson on the other side, we knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good, but
Oh man, it
yeah,
was
you'll
good.
take it.
Goff managers, Amon-Ra St. Brown managers. I mean, Jameer Gibbs. St. Brown, what he have 39.2 is what I see ESPN scoring. Goff 33.9. I mean, it was incredible. And them kind of dropping those points on the Bears secondary, like it was just so good, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown managers. You were nervous, you were worried from week 1 to week 2, and it paid off. Did you see Jared Goff trying to do that jump into the stands? Did you see those videos come out from that?
I
Where he
did
was just
not.
so I'll send it to you. It was so funny. Amon-Ra St. Brown jumps into the stands. They're like, this is where you jump or whatever. And then Jared Goff tried to do it and he just like kind of slid into the stands. He was needing help up. It was pretty funny. It was good.
Well, he at least performed on
Just
the field.
awkward.
Pretty much
Exactly.
everyone came through except Sam Laporta. Laporta had 3 for
Yeah.
26. Jamison Williams only 2 for 108, but a touchdown on 4 targets. So you'll take that. But yeah, they didn't even need to pass that much. 23 pass completions for Goff. Even Montgomery found the end zone. So yeah, you're happy to see that if you're heavily invested in Detroit, because that was one of the storylines with Ben Johnson's departure. And again, it looked terrible in week 1, but clearly that was more a product of facing a very good Green Bay defense.
Absolutely. And it was one where, again, it's Overreaction Monday. We overreacted a week ago saying, oh, maybe they're missing Ben Johnson. But it was nice to finally see, not only everyone really winning, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff more specifically, and just kind of looking explosive again. That's exactly what you want out of a team in a game like this. So you were happy starting any of those guys besides Laporta. I think Daniel Jones, is he not the biggest maybe overreaction? Maybe we should just say that he is the league winner. I know it's way too early for that, but we like to be dramatic over here for Overreaction Monday. Um, I thought this game going up against the Denver Broncos defense, I said, ugh, maybe you should, I remember we had callers. We said, hey, maybe you can pick Daniel Jones up, put him off to the side, and maybe take one more different option here for this week, more specifically, because this is going to be a tough one to win and a tough one to be good at, be productive in for fantasy football. Oh my gosh, did Daniel Jones prove us wrong? I mean, it was impressive what they were able to do. The Colts won. In the end, the Colts won, and they took them down, what, 29-28 in that game. I know that Broncos fans, sorry, Broncos country, you're probably not going to be excited hearing about that one because of the penalty called there, Adam. Curious if you think that penalty was the right call or not. But Jones did score 22.84 fantasy points against this still really good Denver Broncos defense after scoring 29.4 in week 1. And yeah, it was just impressive overall.
Yeah, this is what you wanted to see. Again, a lot of people doubted that he would perform and said he'll come back down to earth. It's the Denver defense. Now we're going to see Daniel Jones, and it was the opposite. He played well, 316 passing yards, a touchdown, only 2 rushing yards, but he did score a rushing touchdown. So you also hope that if you're have Jonathan Taylor, you're like, I don't want to see this every week, because that's now 3 rushing touchdowns. We thought, oh, with Anthony Richardson not at
Yeah.
quarterback and Daniel Jones, we know Jones would run, but you didn't think as many goal line carries would be stolen from Taylor, who did catch a reception for a touchdown. So
Yeah,
you'll take
he's
that.
fine. He
But
scored
yeah, you
points.
got to be impressed with what Daniel Jones has done so far. And, this is the most talent he's had around him as well. He's
Exactly.
got a top running back with Jonathan Taylor. He's got excellent receivers with Michael Pittman, and we saw Josh Downs more involved after that hamstring injury that kept him out of camp late. He had a better game. Tyler Warren and what he can do added to the team. So there's some good pieces here around him. He is also a quarterback that's going to run, so that gives him a high floor. And there'll be situations where I think people are going to start to start him going
Oh
forward. I
yeah.
know I did pick him up last week as a backup. I was like, do I spend some money? But I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it. I don't remember how much I spent. It wasn't a lot, but I do have him as a backup. I think my start is Drake May. So I'll
I
probably roll
mean,
with
that's good.
May most of the time. But, it's nice to have that insurance in Daniel Jones, where, again, he was probably picked up in almost every league last week. Maybe you're fortunate you're in a more shallow format where you have Burrow and Jones is out there, then you can go get him. But uh, some people say, oh, it's only 2 games, but we've seen flashes from Daniel Jones before.
Yeah. Oh no, we definitely have seen flashes. And that's yes, it's only 2 games, but listen, we're going to be talking about him as someone that maybe you can start if you're in a pinch because they're taking on the Tennessee Titans in week 3. So until he shows us that he can't do this anymore, when we get 2 consecutive weeks of one, yes, the Miami Dolphins in week 1, that's just a bad team overall. But we're talking now about the Denver Broncos. This isn't a team where we say, ah, yeah, they just came out and had a bad day. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I know they came up short in this one, and some teams do have bad days. But if we're considering this against the Denver Broncos, we just have to consider Daniel Jones going forward. And for him to put up, 22 plus fantasy points in 2 consecutive weeks, it makes us need to pay attention. So the Tennessee Titans in week 3 makes him a viable fantasy starter. It depends, yes, on what your quarterback situation is. Obviously, if you have an elite guy, you don't need to message us and be like, well, I've got, Lamar Jackson. Should I start Daniel Jones? No. But when you're in that frame of, hey, Justin Fields is in concussion protocol, and we don't know if he's going to be able to play yet this week. If you had, unfortunately, Brock Purdy, if you had, unfortunately, Joe Burrow, they're going to miss time. And so Daniel Jones is a quarterback that you should have on your roster if you're in a situation like that. And yeah, shout out to Jonathan Taylor, 29.5 PPR points against the, again, Denver Broncos defense. This was just I did not see this one coming. This was a huge upset. I took him in a couple, the Broncos, that is. I took him in a couple of pick'ems. Didn't win that.
You think it was a huge upset? Wasn't the line 1.5?
I don't know. I just thought the Broncos were going to be better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised the Colts won.
Oh, see, I am surprised the Colts won.
No, I'm not. I mean, they're at home, and the line was, I think it was 1.5. Denver
That's
was
crazy.
favored
I
by.
wouldn't.
So.
If you would have asked that, I would have not even known that line was that close.
And look, that penalty at the end of the game,
Oh my gosh.
that changed obviously the whole outcome of the game. It was a 60-yarder that was missed, and then a 15-yard penalty, and then it's a much easier field goal from 45. So nice start for the Colts for sure, and in a winnable division too.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to Colts fans. I know that it's their first. What was the stat? It's their 2-0 for the first time since 2009. Adam, that's crazy. Again, in my wildest dreams, if I thought about the best outcomes for the Indianapolis Colts to start the season, it would have never looked like this. I'm going to be totally honest with you.
Well, so now
Let's hope it continues.
And they're favored next week on the road at 3.5 point favorites against the Titans, which means they're going to lose.
Stop. What is wrong with
I'm just calling it. That's all.
Oh my gosh. Don't do this. Don't do this, Colts fans. We're hyping them up. We're excited for them. Come on. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be great.
Now they definitely don't believe you. All right, Overreaction Monday again at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. We'll open up the phone lines here. Overreacting to me with Brian Thomas Jr. and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm going to be totally honest. And again, that's my overreaction. I know we can be a little bit dramatic over here, but I mean, Lawrence had 271 passing yards, 3 touchdowns going up against the Bengals. It's the accuracy hurts. He completed 24 of 42 passes, had 2 interceptions. But man, when you're looking at Brian Thomas Jr., he caught 4 passes for 49 yards, 8.9 points in this game. And he's one of them. We'll talk about AJ Brown here in a little bit. There are a couple guys where right now I'm just like, it needs to start getting better. And to me, Liam Cohen just needs to start and continue creating volume for more Brian Thomas Jr. But if you're a Brian Thomas Jr. manager, you're not happy.
The volume is not the issue. He's had 19 targets in 2 games. He had 12 targets yesterday. So week 1, Lawrence had a lot of off-target throws to Thomas. Mm-hmm. This was on Thomas yesterday. He dropped passes. He dropped a key 4th down that probably would have won them the game. He might not have scored, but it would have at least given them a 1st down and at least set them up for a touchdown or a field goal, and they wouldn't have lost that game. You could see Liam Cohen was kind of holding back on some comments. There was some talk that maybe Thomas was a little shy for body contact during this game. And then you see what Ian Hartitz tweeted out a couple of hours ago about Trevor Lawrence passer rating by target this season. And Brian Thomas is at the bottom at 18.3. And Travis Hunter's 32.4. And then you got 5 guys over 100. Tootin, Brown, Etienne, Parker Washington, and Brenton Strange. So, right now the connection is not there with Lawrence and Thomas. And maybe that was some of the issues for some people that didn't want to take Thomas because they're like, oh, it was Mac Jones last year. But I think, look, if you have him, you got to stick with him. And I think, I would buy low too. Look, he has 19 targets in 2 games. So only 5 catches. That's the problem. You got to think that it's going to get better. It's a talented player in Thomas, and he's got to really show up next week because that was a miserable performance from Brian Thomas yesterday,
Yeah,
and it's
you're right.
unacceptable. So it's got to get better for him. Look, I have him too. They play the Texans. They're at home. Texans will be on a short week since they play tonight. So there's no excuses. Brian Thomas has got to show up and perform better next week.
Yeah, you're right. He's part of the problem. Three drops is something that when you look at, it doesn't mean that when you look at this game, it's why they lost, but it is one of those things in fantasy where yeah, you're right. I mean, the breakdown of having 12 targets, 4 catches, and 49 yards, didn't score either. Yeah, it's brutal. It's just brutal. 8.9 fantasy points, Adam. You just with some of these top guys, I know a lot of people were still mad about AJ Brown as you should be. I mean, there are some at the top that you're just starting, Marvin Harrison Jr., and you're just saying, wow, I hope I get some fantasy points in production, but you're just not.
I am so sick of the Eagles because it's just insane. Like they are actually passing less than last year. It's only 2 games, but these are competitive games they've been in. And it's like Jalen Hurts drops back, and if his first read is not open, he runs. Like
Yep.
he's not even taking any chances, and it's working for them. They're playing winning football, but that was pretty bad because Smith and Brown with no Goddard, and that's what you get. Smith 4 for 53 on 6 targets. AJ Brown 5 for 27 on 8. I mean, AJ Brown's one of the top receivers in the NFL. So yeah, it's pretty discouraging. They ran the ball 34 times, only passed 22. And again, 2 straight weeks they've had competitive games, which I thought, all right, with the score closer,
Yep.
they're going to be a little bit more open to pass, and it's been the opposite. So, 58 plays too. They're playing at a slow pace as well. So they're not running a lot of plays, and then those plays that they run are runs. And then I saw someone else tweet this out that slightly over 11% of their plays were the tush push yesterday.
Really.
Like, are you kidding me? So maybe we should have taken that into account more. I don't know. It's 2 games though, so I don't want to go crazy, but it's not a
Yeah.
good sign
Well, at
that
the beginning of the season, though, we expected them to pass more. That's the other thing is
because
that
they
we
passed so little last
exactly,
year.
exactly. It's only 2 weeks, but they are 30th right now in the NFL in team pass attempts per game. Again, only 2 games, but they're averaging 22 and a half
Yeah,
behind the
that's
Jets and behind Minnesota.
what the Jets we expected. Minnesota, they're obviously trying to
Yeah.
ease JJ McCarthy in, but look, we knew Philadelphia is not going to be near the top in the NFL, but I thought it would get a little better, and you just need a few more just to feed AJ Brown and Smith. So we'll see. I mean, they're home to the Rams at Tampa, home to Denver. So you really need them to fall behind at this point, like 14-0.
Which it's really unlikely that they do, to be totally honest. I mean, it's obvious that they just lack that vertical element, but yeah, AJ Brown more specifically is one that has me shaking my head because he did have 8 targets on Sunday. He caught
Right.
5,
A
but
lot
he
of them were
finished with
short, though.
27 yards. You got 7 points out of him in fantasy. So they need to find answers in the passing game. And again, I don't know if they do that ahead of their game. Rams? Are they playing the Rams?
Yeah.
Yeah, ahead of the Rams, this Rams team, but I don't know. I thought there would be a little bit more of Brown, and that explosiveness that we've seen from him, and it just again, overreaction. It's only week 2, but it is slightly
It's
concerning.
really expectations because, AJ Brown last year, a lot of people say he was a disappointment. He was still 13th in points per game in PPR formats at receiver, which is not bad. It's just, you might have taken him in the first round. You wanted more. So it's not like he was terrible. It's just he didn't live up to expectations. And
Yeah.
we're kind of going through that already. He was going late second round in a lot of leagues this year.
Let's continue. We've got winners and losers. Winners and losers from week 2. We already know. We talked about AJ Brown, so you know one of them. But I've seen a lot of questions here, Adam, on what we should do with Mark Andrews. We need to break down what's happening with this Ravens team, Mark Andrews specifically. We're going to go through him and more winners losers coming up next. What are we looking at with Mark Andrews? I got this question and I've seen it over on Twitter from you guys. So at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there. If you've got any questions for us, send them our way. But wow, for the second, it's the second consecutive year that we've had to talk about Mark Andrews in an overreaction Monday, just saying, should we be a little bit worried? And Mark Andrews has just not been performing well. He had week one, 1.5 PPR fantasy points on one target, 1.4 in week two. And this time it was three targets. And so it's six, which is the worst single game scores across 106 career NFL games for him. It's not been good. And it's the same thing that we were talking about in 2024, but we kind of knew, all right, he was in the car accident. Some things were just a little bit, he was shaken up a little bit. So we just said, hey, sometimes if you can hold on to him, that's probably good. I rage dropped him last season, and then what happened? All of a sudden, he looked amazing. But at this point, I know that fantasy managers are a little bit concerned for him. What have you seen from Mark Andrews right now?
Well, he did have a drop in the end zone yesterday, so
Yikes.
that didn't help. So I'd say week one was more the game script, right? Because Lamar Jackson completed 14 passes in week one. So anytime the quarterback has that many few completions, it's going to be hard for multiple players to produce in the passing game. And it was Zay Flowers who came through. But this game was he played a lot of snaps. I think he played the most snaps out of any offensive skill position player. So he
74.5%
yeah.
of the
So he's
offensive
on the
snaps.
field. So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, that's good. But once again, it was Zay Flowers leading the way with 11 targets, and then it was spread out amongst others. It didn't help that Devontae Walker scored 2 touchdowns. Tylan
Yeah,
Wallace scored a
what? What are
touchdown.
we doing?
DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown. But this is more concerning because Isaiah Likely has been out. And you figured, okay, this will be the opportunity for Andrews to produce, especially while Likely is out. He's 30 years old, which is not old for a tight end.
No, you're in your like the prime window because the older tight ends are what we talk about. We say, hey, the age cliff is very different when we talk about guys like Kittle, Andrews in this age range. It's way different than wide receivers. And excuse me, he played 79% of the snaps this week. So even
Yeah,
more that I said.
so I'm also, I guess most of those were longer touchdowns too, right? The passing touchdowns for
Oh
Lamar.
yeah. Yeah.
So, and then again, he had that opportunity in red zone and dropped it. So, yeah, it's tough right now because only 4 targets through two games. It's it's hard to play him next week at this point. I mean, hopefully you have another tight end, and but again, you have hesitancy to drop him just because you saw what happened last season. And you are correct. Last season we had a legit reason. He was
Oh yeah.
coming off a car accident and an injury as well. We don't have that to fall back on this year, so it is definitely concerning. But it is still one of the better offenses in the NFL, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he started scoring touchdowns. But I get it. I don't have him anywhere, so maybe it's easier to say this when you don't have him. It's like, yeah, you're not looking at your live scoring and seeing one catch, 2 yards, 1 for 5. So I would look to probably start someone else at least next week, but
Yeah.
try
Until we
not to
see it.
drop them yet, right? I don't think
I
you
don't
want to
think
do
we're
that.
there. It depend. It always just depends on on your league and who you have on your roster. If you have a better option on your bench or on the waiver wire and you're in somewhat of a shallow league, then yeah, then I do think you can drop Andrews. But for most people listening right now, I don't think you have that right now. And so I think you wait, you hold on to him. But if we have the same conversation next week, it's going to be one of those where we just say, hey, listen, maybe you package him together in a trade or something else. But because he had caught at least two passes for at least double digit yards in 15 of 17 games last season. And so the one thing here that, like you said, and you mentioned it, Isaiah Likely's been out. So it hasn't been this thing where Isaiah Likely's been getting a little bit of work and we say, okay, what's the split going to look like? Because he's been inactive. And so for Mark Andrews to not kind of have the performances that we expect, even with Isaiah Likely out, the thing that's concerning. He's been a non-factor. And for you, yes, the fantasy, the tight end landscape in fantasy football is always just so up and down. But if you have a Tucker Craft or someone else that maybe you got later, I mean, he
Oh, that's
Tucker
easy
Craft is
decision.
an easier start than Mark Andrews right now.
Oh
So
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't think you can drop him yet. Wait until I drop him. When I rage drop him, that's when he'll start going off. But it is one of those things where it is concerning, and it's starting to not become an overreaction. If we have the same conversation next week, he's going to be hurting some teams. He already is.
oh no, he definitely is already because I'm pretty sure anyone who has him just put him in their lineup the first 2 weeks. You
Yeah.
drafted him as a top 7, top 8 tight end. You probably had no hesitation, but yeah, look, the tight end position there's going to be volatility. We're already seeing it. If you look at the top tight ends in fantasy points per game in PPR formats, Tucker Kraft is 1, Jawan Johnson is 2, Brock Bowers is 3 for now, plays tonight. Zach Ertz is 4, and Tyler Warren is 5.
Just
So,
like we expected.
yeah.
Just like we
No,
predicted.
I look with Kraft. A lot of us liked him. I know you did. I did. I have him in a couple leagues. Jawan Johnson, no one really drafted, even though he got paid big money in the offseason. So I did pick him up in a league where I had Kittle, thank goodness, because it's 2 good weeks in a row. I mean,
Nice.
Zach Ertz, we saw last year that he wasn't desirable in fantasy. I don't think anyone was looking to go out of their way to draft him. I mean, he's 34, but he's been getting targets in this offense.
Oh, for
So
sure.
he
He's
gives
gonna
you a
be
high floor, maybe not a high ceiling.
s-
And Tyler Warren was someone that was rising up draft boards and at times going as the 5th tight end off the board. So I don't think there's a surprise there.
Mark Andrews managers, hold on, maybe for one more week, but we'll have tight ends that we can talk about picking up tomorrow when we go through the waiver wire. I want to go through some
Right,
winners.
real quick, do you know where Mark Andrews is in
Oh
fantasy
God,
points per game in PPR?
what?
57th.
Oh, that's horrible. Actually, maybe just rage drop him now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Elijah
blame you.
Arroyo is
Oh,
averaging more
yeah,
fantasy points per
don't.
game.
We're gonna go through fantasy winners from week 2 coming up here next. Oh, continuing on with Overreaction Monday. Another great song, by the way, Adam. I love this song.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
all
like
music
dance.
for
I can
you.
dance
You
and sing.
control this
What are you
show.
talking about? You don't like this song? Everyone likes this
You
song.
control this show.
What are you talking about? I
Like,
have no board
whatever
in
you
front of me.
say
It's our
goes.
producer. What do you want next?
Nah,
What song? Put
you
in a
s-
request.
no, it's all
I just
right.
request them.
I don't want to
you know.
disrupt the flow.
Oh, gee.
I don't want to get you upset, and then you start
Oh my,
blocking me on
yeah,
social media.
that's me. You know, you know me just getting upset, blocking you everywhere. You're so whatever. Get out of here. Hey, can we just James Cook right now on pace for a lot of touchdowns this season. I think I got this from producer Matt Swing. James Cook is on pace for 25 touchdowns, and remember last year it was 18. So we'll see. We'll see if it continues. But 26.5 PPR points led all running backs when we look at that from the 1 p.m. Eastern games. I haven't looked last night, but it was great.
Yeah, he was the only player for the Bills that you came through for you yesterday, and it goes back to people were like, "Oh, Keon Coleman breakout," and I was saying like Josh Allen's not throwing 40 passes every game, and when you look at their schedule upcoming, it's not going to happen. He threw more than 40 passes once last year, and then this is more what you expect from the Bills. They're in control of the game. They spread the ball out, so none of the receivers produced. Look, James Cook, yeah, right now going to be wrong on him, but the whole point was I just didn't like his usage, and it was dependent on touchdowns. Well, it looks like those touchdowns are going to just come every single week because he only had 207 carries last year.
Mm-hmm.
207 carries and only 32 receptions. So he's got 6 receptions so far, 34 carries. I mean, he's really good. There's no question about it. And maybe this could be an exception where the offense is so good, they are going to score a lot of points on the ground. Josh Allen didn't have a touchdown in this game. How many times are we going to say that? He didn't have a passing touchdown or a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and for the season, he has 4 goal line carries to Cook's 3. But that's enough. Like
Yeah, I
he
guess
should
every
be in
time
for
he gets a
another
goal
big
line
day.
carry, he's going to score.
There you go. They're playing the Miami Dolphins in week 3.
Yeah, so he's going to score again.
3 touchdowns. Should you say it already? 3 touchdowns for James Cook. You wanna?
It's going to be Ray Davis and Ty Johnson this week.
Stop, get out of here. We're going to the water cooler. Make sure to call us in here next. Oh, you know what time it is. We are here in the water cooler for Fantasy Life. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Overreaction Monday, and we are here to help you with any questions that you have. If you have start sit, we've got a Monday night doubleheader coming up tonight, and getting you ready for all things for that. And week 3, we've got injuries that we have to talk through here, Adam. But as always, we are here to help. So make sure you guys are calling in 888-963-2682 or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. You can also find us on X on Twitter over there at KValenzuela17 at Adam Ronis. If you have questions, you can't find the time to call in right now, that's fine. But we are absolutely here. FantasyLife.com is also here for you. So make sure you head over there. If you can't do either of those things, we have a great start sit tool. So you can go over there, presented by Xfinity, put in your start sit questions, anything you have, look at the waiver wire tool. My waiver wire article is actually up right now. Wanted to make sure I got that out late last night. So that is up and live if you guys want to start and get an early jump jump on waivers. We're going to talk about him tomorrow, Adam. But of course, the big one that people are going to be asking about is Joe Burrow and trying to find a replacement for Joe Burrow, since it looks like he's going to be sidelined at least for the next 3 months. Like this turf toe is the same. It's the same thing that is sidelined Brock Purdy, but obviously it's to a different extent. So it looks like we're going to be without Joe Burrow for the next 3 months. We talked earlier in the show just about Jake Browning and what he was able to do for this team, and we've seen him do it before. That's the other part of the Jake Browning experience. During the time in 2023 when he had to go in there, he looked all right, and I think depending on the matchup, he is definitely going to be that streamable quarterback for you. They still have Brett Rippon as the backup. There's been reports that they're calling around to free agent quarterbacks since the injury. I saw that maybe Desmond Ritter is someone that they're calling up, Mike White, Taylor Heineke. Not names that we're necessarily excited for, but it does feel like if Daniel Jones is gone, Michael Penix Jr. is probably gone. It's not a bad look to go out and get Browning for your team.
Yeah, especially for a super flex league. And we did see in the 7 starts in 2023, he was a top 10 quarterback in 5 of them. So he does have the weapons there with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown out of the backfield. So again, you're going to lower your expectations if you have those players, but it's not a death nail like some other situations where if the backup quarterback came in, you'd be like, oh no, that's it. I can't do anything with these guys. Browning's going to turn it over. We know that, but it's not the worst situation there. And the schedule upcoming is tough, though. That's the only thing. The next few weeks, Minnesota, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. So it's not ideal, but they'll be passing a lot. Could be playing from behind. So the volume is going to be there for the guys in this offense.
Brutal. We never want to go through it, but don't give up. That's the only thing we always say here, Adam. Even if you lose Joe Burrow, you can still win the fantasy season. You just have to really work the waiver wires more than anyone else. Probably spend a little bit more than you're comfortable spending, right? If it's a quarterback, that's the thing. We always talk about making sure you manage that fab well throughout the season. But if it's for something big like this, I mean, you're going through the same thing. You have to pick up Browning, and you were talking in the break about how much you should spend on $100 budget. We won't say it out loud because maybe your league mates are listening, but it's one of those things where unfortunately you're probably going to have to spend a good amount of money, especially if it's super flex. You're just going to have to do it.
Yeah, in a super flex league, you really have no choice because there's probably no other starters out there. I mean, people are even hoarding Jackson Dart, right? He's not
Yeah.
available in those
Hey,
formats. So
we got a little Jackson Dart over the weekend.
yeah, a
Couple
couple of
handoffs.
snaps there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna have to spend some money.
Absolutely. The other injury, or Justin Fields is in concussion protocol, so that's the other one that we have to look for. He remained. I saw this tweet earlier today, but he remained in concussion protocol, and his availability for their next game is a little bit up in the air. We know that concussion protocol sometimes he can just get out of it, and we'll be able to see him for week 3. But you want to err on the side of caution. Aaron Glenn said that he will continue to be evaluated after he was hurt late in that Jets loss going up against the Buffalo Bills. If he's unable to play, they're going up against Tampa Bay. It would be Tyrod Taylor. We're not there yet, Adam, but hopefully if you have Justin Fields, you have just someone sitting on your bench that you're able to start in his place. If not, head to the waiver wire. But that is their backup for Fields if he's not able to go. It's early. We're not there yet, but he is still in concussion protocol.
I still think you want to have a backup plan just in case, because again, with concussions, it's tricky. We've seen guys clear it pretty quickly. Other times it takes a week, sometimes 2. We've
Yeah.
seen though a lot of players over the last couple of years miss at least 1 week in this scenario. So just be prepared. I will always go in saying, all right, with the mindset, this player's not going to play. How am I going to replace him? If you do that, then you're prepared if he is out. And clearly this was we've seen the lows of Justin Fields. This will probably be like the lowest one of the year because he could, if he finished the game, he might have given you a decent fantasy day because he did rush for 49 yards on 5 carries, just 3 for 11, 27 passing
Yeah,
yards.
brutal.
Yeah, Jets just got throttled by Buffalo. They could do nothing.
The whole game, I mean, the whole thing was brutal, when we looked at it. Breece Hall too, what he had 5.8 points, but at least, I mean, not to be the light at the end of the tunnel here, but at least Breece Hall was still, like, taking that stronghold on the backfield. That's the other part of it, but he wasn't giving you fantasy points, so there's a good and a bad here, but 5.8 fantasy points in that loss, like you said, to the Bills, rushed for 29 yards on 10 carries, 9 yards receiving on 2 receptions. Buffalo controlled the whole game. They controlled the tempo. They just controlled everything from the start. So it was unfortunate to see Fields go down. If he was out there, yeah, maybe he would have given you a little bit more. But just a bad day for the Jets. They came back down to earth a little bit.
In a big way. They were one of the better
Yeah.
offensive teams in week one. They were one of the worst in week two, which is what's going to happen with Fields at quarterback.
Some of those games we said you're gonna just start him and not look don't watch the game. Just don't watch. Yeah, it's not good over there. But again, he is in concussion protocol. We'll see if he is able to get out of it by the time week 3 starts. We'll be monitoring it every single day. The waiver wire article is live though, fantasylife.com. That's where you can go to check it out. We'll be able to break it down here tomorrow as well, but just if you want an early jump start, make sure you head over there. And again, we see your phone calls. Appreciate everyone hanging on here. 888-963-2682, or press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app. Wanted to mention the Arizona Cardinals, who we haven't mentioned yet, but Kyler Murray said we're 2-0, but we'll get bit if we keep playing around. Marvin Harrison Jr. fantasy managers were not excited about this outing. I think just 4.7 fantasy points in week 2 for this. The Cardinals did end up with a win, obviously, for this win over the Cardinals, but caught 2 of 5 targets for 27 yards. You got week 1, at least. Marvin Harrison Jr. was able to give you 18.7, but it was giving me flashbacks, Adam, about the highs and the lows with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray together. It's what we had last season. We were hoping for better chemistry. Again, only week 2, so hopefully that the chemistry continues to get better as the weeks go on. But definitely frustrating for Marvin Harrison Jr. managers.
Yeah, reminiscent of last year where you would
Yep.
get that one good
Brutal.
week and then non-existent. Now, this was a weird game because Arizona was up 27-3 and Carolina had a chance at the end of the game to potentially win it. Carolina ran 77 plays, Arizona ran 48. So, again, you see those games from time to time, and that's why when you look at those stats, you're like, what happened here? It's hard to put up numbers when the other team has the ball most of the game. And it was the second half where Carolina just kept passing to get back in the game. 55 pass attempts for Bryce Young in this one. So as a result, on the Arizona side, you really didn't get much. I mean, Trey McBride, 6 for 78. And James Conner, 11 for 34 on the ground. Did score a rushing touchdown and catch 18-yard pass, but we're seeing more Trey Benson, especially in
Yeah.
passing situations. So it's a concern because Connor, the one thing you loved about him was the volume, and that volume is being cut into by Trey Benson. It was mentioned in the preseason. Even Connor mentioned it, saying, yeah,
Yep.
we're going to see a lot more Trey Benson. So we hear things, and it doesn't always pan out. This is coming to fruition with Arizona.
Connor still played 70.6% of the offensive snaps on early downs. But yeah, you mentioned it. This week, it was Trey Benson who continued to be the primary backup on early downs and the third down back as well. And then he played all 6 snaps in the 2-minute drill per PFF here. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's always going to be doing that, but it's a good sign for Trey Benson managers. Again, it's not to a point where we're saying he's a must start every single week, but James Conner was the guy that told us this offseason, like you said, that they're going to split time and split work. So again, 70.6% of the offensive snaps on early downs to Connor, but a trend that you don't love. In a game that, James Conner was the smash hit this week. It was the no-brainer. And obviously, if you have him, you were starting him, but you wanted a little bit more out of him in this game that was just a smash matchup for him.
Yeah, and as a team, they averaged 3.7 yards per carry
I
against
know
this
they don't
Carolina
look good.
defense. Like, come on.
Hunter Renfro, by the way, catches 2 touchdowns, and that was not on my. Can we Tedero McMillan? Maybe could we throw one to him? I don't know.
I
It's
mean, he had
just
10 targets and was
I
6 for 100,
know.
but yes, it would have been nice to
7
get that
passes for
touchdown.
48 yards. Best game since 2022. Shout out to Hunter Renfro, but he was, listen, just for a sneak peek, he was not necessarily on my waiver wire article. I think there's better receivers that you can go and get,
How
but
about Xavier Legette 8 targets, 1 catch for -2 yards. I
Yeah.
think you could
Oh,
do
I
that.
have a stat. Hey, whoa! Why do
No,
I get strays?
I'm just
Why am I
saying
catching
you could
strays?
probably do that, right?
Oh yeah, well I would score actually. My ego
Okay.
tells me. I have a hang on. While you said since you said that, I saw a stat that I actually saved from that specifically because it's so bad. So okay, here it is from Ben Solak, who does an amazing job. Xavier Legette will end the game with -2 receiving yards on 8 targets, which is the only the second game in NFL history with negative yards on at least 8 targets. The last person to do that was 2013. It was a Chiefs running back, Jamal Charles had -6 yards. That's
Well,
impressively
on the
bad.
positive side, Jamal Charles turned into a hell of a player, so
Are you
but
gonna
I
do
don't think
this?
we're gonna say
Put
that
it on
about
record.
Leggett.
Put it on the record right now. I could do that for sure. I would be better. I'd
And
have
then
2
through 2
yards.
games, Leggett has 15 targets, 4 receptions for 8 yards.
He's
Still
bad.
better than Mark Andrews.
Stop. Get out of here. We can't do this. It's so bad. It's beyond bad. You need Jalen Coker to come off IR. That's why we said if you have Jalen Coker and he is in your IR spot, if he's floating around, then I don't know if you need to get him yet, but once he is able to come off IR, I haven't seen an update on him. I don't know if the timeline is for him to be good for week 5, but again, when you're on IR, you miss minimum of 4 games. That's why I said in the offseason, I said one of my guys that I liked off the waivers was Coker because he's going to step into a role immediately. He's better than Xavier Legette. He's going to be better than Xavier Legette. He's not shown us anything, so he will step in. But that's just that's a side conversation. We're a little bit early for that, but it's just been bad. I need
It
more
really has
Tyrod
been,
McMillan
for
touchdowns.
sure. So, I'm not
Yeah,
sure though if Coker will be ready week 5. It sounded
I
like it could
don't.
be.
His
It's
injury was a
initially it was
little
like
bit.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So
his injury was a little bit worse
yeah.
than it was the quad, and it was random too. Remember that?
Oh
It was
yeah, he
after our
was.
Friday show, and then all of a sudden it was IR on the weekend.
Coker was moving up to like round 12, 13 in like competitive leagues with the departure, the trade of Adam Thielen. So people were fired up. The cokeheads were going wild. And then he gets hurt.
Just just keep him on your IR spot if you have him. But yeah,
I have him
it
on
was
my
4 to
bench in a
6
league with
games.
20 rounds. So I drafted him and I've kept him this whole
I
time.
was gonna
So
say I would keep him if I had him.
uh,
4 to 6 games.
yeah, you try to hold him. I mean, if you get too many injuries, or remember the bye weeks are coming up in week 5 too. So that's.
And our the bye weeks and I forgot the international games are coming up too.
Yeah, I can't
So
wait
that'll
for
be a little
those.
bit.
I mean, I'm already up
Come
early on
on,
Sunday
it's
morning.
6 a.m. for me. I've got to wait.
I'm
Yours
already
are
up
like
anyway.
10
I'm on the air
a.m.
at
I
7 a.m.
know.
Eastern, so I'll be up. So it's like finish the
Exactly.
show and then watch football.
Let's go to the phone lines now. 888-963-2682 or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. Let's go out to Mark in Atlanta. Mark, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I lost Joe Burrows over this weekend, and I have on the waiver wire Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Love, Matthew Stafford, C.J. Stroud, Daniel Jones, Russell Williams, and Browning. Who would you go with? Give me a 1 and number 2.
Okay, I like that you have options. I think
Yeah, plenty
so.
of options. Oh my
It's good.
goodness.
Gosh, Trevor Lawrence, please. I thought you were going to be better. Would it not be Love is one that stands out to me right now as one.
Yeah.
Love, Stafford, no.
No, it would be
Stroud,
Love and Daniel Jones and
yeah.
Lawrence. Those would be the top 3.
In that order, too. I think I would say Jordan
I,
Love, Daniel Jones. What, you like Daniel Jones more than Jordan Love?
no, I think you
Oh,
go with
okay.
Love. I mean, the issue is there'll be just some games where they run the football a lot, but it's fine. I mean, yeah, Jaden Reed's going to miss. Not that that matters. They spread the ball around so much. So, yeah, I would go with Love.
Let me tell you their schedule, and then I think
You
you'll
might be able to stream too. If all those guys are
yeah.
available.
Yeah, but Love, so they take on the Browns this week. They're
Okay.
on the road
Browns are
against the
better
Browns.
defensively than people think.
They are, but then they take on the Cowboys, and then they're at home against the Bengals, on the road against the Cardinals.
Okay.
So those are like 4, and then in 2 weeks after that, they take on the Panthers. So that's a pretty good stretch of games where I
It
would
is.
still. Daniel Jones, though, you're right. I mean, Daniel Jones and the Colts, again, if you're looking to stream, the Colts take on the Titans and then the Rams, Raiders, Cardinals for the next 4. And they have no international games, so they're not part of that. But yeah, I would go Jordan Love, Daniel Jones
Those are
there.
good options to have. There are people who are going to be in a lot
Hmm.
worse situations where it's not as plentiful on the waiver wire. And that's just the whole point. If you're in a league like that, you really don't need to draft a backup quarterback if you have a Joe Burrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you calling in. Let's continue on. Let's go out to Anton in Savannah. Anton, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. So I have 17 points that I'm down, and my opponent has McConkey to play, but I've got Nico Ibuka, right? So trying to even that out. My big question is, should I start Baker against a good defense or Stroud against a bad defense? I need as many points as I can.
And I like that. So, wow, those are good. First of all, I like the option. CJ Stroud, Houston taking on Tampa, or you've got Baker taking on, obviously, Houston here. What are you looking at, Adam? I would say
Yeah, like
Baker.
I think I'm going with Baker. I know he wasn't
Yeah.
like great last week. He still had the 3 touchdowns, but I can't with CJ Stroud in that offensive line. They should be better this week, but I'm just gonna go Baker.
Man, the offensive line is not good right now. And here's my thing. I don't think it stays that way the whole season. I think they're still gelling and getting it right together, but it's been really bad. So I would go Baker there as well. And I looked at the start sit tool powered by Xfinity at fantasylife.com. And you're looking at a weekly projection from us, 17 points for Baker Mayfield and 15.6 for CJ Stroud. So you just hope Baker and Emeka Egbuka. Is this the 3 touchdown game? Or was that last? No. This is
That
the
was
three
this
touchdown
week,
game.
yeah.
Yeah. All
Hopefully
right.
that
So you just
happens.
hope that happens there. Appreciate you calling in, Anton. We would go with Baker Mayfield tonight. Good luck. Let's go out to Jeff in Indiana. Jeff, what do you got for us?
Well, first off, I don't know if you remember, I was a guy who I called and you said to check back in. I had a decision to make in my Superflex League, and you called me contrarian because I obviously didn't go for very many quarterbacks, and I was trying to decide between Tua and Bryce Young, and you thought Bryce Young was the better of the two. Well, I picked up Bryce Young. He kind of he didn't do very well the first week, so I ended up dropping him before this week, and I picked up Penix because Kittle went on my IR. I stacked him with Pitts. And I also picked up Hollywood Brown. Now, my running backs are pretty solid, but so I'm wondering, I want to pick up Jalen Warren, but do I drop him for, say, maybe Hollywood or Isaiah Pacheco, or do I maybe go a different route and not even worry about picking up Pacheco? Oh, I'm sorry, picking up Warren.
I do. Here's the thing, Adam, though. I do like Warren. He led the Steelers 2-man rotation with Kenneth Gainwell, and it's looking good for Jalen Warren right now.
He
But I don't know
had
if I'd
he had a
drop.
great reception too at
Yeah, I don't know, but
65 yarder.
But when you give me the options of Hollywood or Pacheco, do you like him enough? I mean, I know Pacheco's not living up to expectations right now, but Hollywood's in a spot where, Xavier Worthy maybe could have played this game, but he didn't. He was out, and then you're still a couple weeks away from getting Rashee Rice back. That's the thing.
Yeah, if you don't need to start Hollywood Brown, I'm okay with him. Look, Pacheco, I think it's going to get better if they're able to play from ahead. It's not like Kareem Hunt is doing anything. I think the offensive line is a problem. There's not much blocking there, but I think they have to go in the direction of Pacheco a little bit more, even though it's been discouraging the first 2 weeks. But I'm actually fine with either. But if you don't need Hollywood Brown, like you're good at receiver, I'm fine with it. I mean, again, he had 16 targets week 1, but it was really one big play. And then this week,
Yeah.
5 for 30. So it's just that passing game is just not clicking right now. And then, like you said, Worthy could potentially be back this week, if not soon. And then Rice after suspension. And then Brown is not going to play a huge role in the offense. He'll be a complementary piece.
And Caleb Johnson, it just made a mistake over the weekend. If no one caught that, it was he might be in the doghouse. I don't know, but
He already was to begin with.
I know, but this might make it worse.
Yeah.
It didn't to me. So it didn't look like Johnson originally when I was watching that. It didn't look like he touched the ball, but it did in fact. It did, and then it landed in the landing zone off kickoff, which makes it a live ball. The Seahawks obviously took advantage of that. Were able to go through and pick it up for a touchdown. That was bad. So his usage. I mean, there's not really much. There's not much there. He's not getting anything for us to say anything positive right now about Caleb Johnson. Only played 2 offensive snaps for the second straight week.
Yeah, 1 carry, 1 yard. And after that mistake, it might be a while before we see much from him.
I think if you're in a 10 team, just drop him. You don't need to keep him. 12, it's a little bit different because maybe there just hasn't been good running backs on the waiver wire, Adam. So I don't want to say, yeah, Caleb Johnson, go ahead and drop him, and then all of a sudden, something happens. But it's not a clear path for him to be fantasy viable right now.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's the doghouse for sure. You're right. He was already in it, but now it might be
Yeah.
worse. Shout out to the Seahawks though. I was happy with it. I was okay with it. I was
Yeah, of
texting
course. That
everyone
changed the game.
I was good with it. Appreciate everyone calling in. We're going to continue to take your phone calls throughout the show here. 888-963-2682. Make sure you send us a message over there at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis. Want to go through things that we've learned so far, presented by Xfinity. Got to talk about the Bears. We absolutely have to. Cam Skattebo's usage as well. Can the Rams keep winning this way? We're going to do it coming up next. Introducing the 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. One internet price, 5 years guaranteed, because life is unpredictable, but the price of your internet should not be. Get a reliable price for a reliable connection. And by all in, we mean all in. Get Wi-Fi equipment and unlimited data included. Change is always happening. You guys know this by now. RB1 seemingly never repeat. 2030's fantasy wide receiver 1 may not even be in college yet, but no matter what changes in 5 years, the price of your internet will stay the same. Learn more at xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Oh yeah, we're talking through what have we learned, presented here by Xfinity. Again, introducing the 5-year price guarantee. One consistent internet price for the next 5 years, totally guaranteed. Just like it is guaranteed that I will be at Chipotle today getting those. It's a buy one, get one free, Adam, if you wear any college football jersey today only.
And you're going to eat both of them?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I didn't say that.
Just
but,
checking.
I mean, hey, if you have dinner for a week, then what's the problem? I was thinking about it. I don't think I could do that.
Can you
Chipotle
think you could trick them and say, yeah, this is a college football jersey? Maybe they have someone working there that doesn't know.
That's what I'm thinking, because college football jerseys, I'm sure, obviously people have them, but I've got way more NFL jerseys. I could be like, look, this is, I don't know. No, I couldn't lie.
Don't you have an Arizona State one? No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Oh,
just
okay,
saying if
so you're
people
good.
needed to I couldn't lie. But buy one get one free. Hashtag not an ad, by the way, for Chipotle. You gonna go?
I don't have a college football jersey, and the line could be crazy long. And we have 2 NFL games tonight and
Oh,
work
that's
to be
right.
done.
I guess we're working. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna do it before.
I can't wait in line for a half hour
It's
today.
not gonna be that long of a
Yeah,
line.
it will.
What
It
are you
usually is to
talking
begin
about?
with. And then
Oh.
you have this, forget it.
All right, fine. Well, Cam Skattebo, we can talk about him. Maybe that'll get you a free Chipotle. No, I have no idea what I'm saying. That will not get you a free Chipotle bowl. Buy one, get one free, by the way. Not an ad, but we mentioned this earlier in the show. It does look like for Skattebo, since we're talking about this in the what have we learned, it did look like he really pulled even, maybe even pulled away from Tyrone Tracy in this game. Again, it's the thing where right now it's not necessarily it's not a large enough change where we're just saying, yeah, absolutely, Cam Skattebo, put in your starting lineups no matter what. I think it's difficult to trust either of them right now, but it is good for Skattebo managers who kind of have waited and said, all right, let's see if the playing time continues to get more and more. We know that he was injured in the offseason as well during training camp, so I think that hindered his start as well, but it was good for Skattebo managers, not as great for Tyrone Tracy managers, but that's what we saw in this one.
Yeah, I think both need to be on rosters, but you feel better about starting Skattebo. Now, that could easily change next week because, again, this is just one game. But you have to take into account that Skattebo missed a lot of time in training camp with injury and was probably a little behind. So maybe this was the plan originally and they had to slow it down. But Tracy looks like he's going to be more in the passing game at this point. So we'll see. They have a tough matchup against Kansas City on Sunday night as Kansas City comes into this game 0-2. So
I can't believe that.
And yeah, they've been pretty good against the run. So it will be a tough spot for the Giants.
Yeah, it's again one of those things where we have to wait and see. But it was a shift that was big enough to kind of talk about of things that we learned over week 2 so far. I want to go over to the Rams and kind of get your take on what this Rams offense is right now, what the unit is looking like to you, because I saw some questions going around. Can the Rams keep winning with an unbalanced offense? And I thought that was interesting because they have big games from top 2 receivers, right? You had Devonte Adams 6 catches for 101 yards. You had and a touchdown, by the way. Puka Nakua had 8 for 91, and then the 45. That was an amazing 45-yard rushing touchdown, by the way. It was phenomenal to start the game. I was like, yes, there we go. I know you have him. He fell to you in our. Was that GST that you have him?
Yeah.
Where he fell that far. But it's also interesting watching Kyron Williams. He played 80.7% of the Rams offensive snaps week 1. Blake Corum sees an increase in snaps, played 30.5% of the offensive snaps. It's just interesting to see that the Rams and the way that they're winning, although we're really happy for it for fantasy football. Curious what you've seen over the past couple of weeks.
It's what we thought in this offense. We've seen it. They focus on getting the ball to their key players, which we love for fantasy purposes because we know it's Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua. They had 22 targets combined, and the next highest was Tyler Higbee at 4. So you're starting those two every week. And Kyron Williams, though, he is very dependent on volume. Now, he did have 19 touches in this game. Blake Corum did take a touchdown away, and Blake Corum had 5 carries, didn't have any targets. So we are seeing more in terms of the percentage shift where Corum is the backup and now is playing a little bit more. I do think some of those carries came late in the game, though.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have been because of the score more than anything else with Corum.
Because we did hear McVay say they wanted to scale back and get Corum involved more, but we've heard that for a couple of years with that. And they did pay Kyron Williams. But, I mean, look, you're rolling with Kyron Williams as an RB2 going forward. But you do want to keep an eye and see if this continues because if that volume does scale back, it will hurt Kyron Williams a little bit.
Yeah. For the time being, though, Williams is still that must-start option. We're not saying anything else other than that, but I think Blake Corum managers, because in the offseason, too, it was like, okay, is it Blake Corum? Is it Jarquez Hunter? What's this going to look like between the two for this RB2 role? There is a chance that if he starts earning more drives and we start and continue to talk about him a little bit more and more as the weeks go on, it's something that we just have to monitor. But I think, you were happy with Devonte Adams. Again, the 6 catches for 101. Puka Nakua was helping his managers. And overall good job for the Rams. That's
and they'll be
division, by the way.
They'll be at Philadelphia next week.
Oh, perfect. Well, Philly has been breaking our hearts recently, so it's totally fine. I think the last one here that I definitely wanted to mention was Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba's usage continues, Adam. It's just one of those things where you were happy with it. When you looked at Kenneth Walker, though, and the split that he was able to have, he did more this week, obviously. He was a lot better. Charbonnet led the backfield. He had 15 rushes. Kenneth Walker had 13. But I mean, the yards per attempt for Charbonnet were so bad. 0.7 yards per attempt, 10 rush yards. JSN, again, had the great 33% target share, which is still elite. And Walker rushed 13 times for 105 yards and a touchdown. So you were happy if you were starting him this week.
Yeah, look, I think we all believe Walker is the better player. We saw it in drafts. He was going 3rd, 4th round. And then last week, people were like, oh, no, what's happening? Walker missed time in training camp with that foot injury. It probably put him behind. I mean, you don't like to see the snap percentage, but Walker's the more explosive player. We know that. So we're still keeping an eye on this backfield, but you have to feel better about starting Walker going forward. But what happens if next week it's a similar situation and Charbonnet looks better? That's the issue.
That's what we feel like is happening, though, right? It's one week, it's one thing, the next week, the other. That's why it was hard to confidently start either.
Yeah, no, I get it. They were kind of both late RB2, early RB3s this week because you just weren't sure what the distribution would be. They are big favorites this week at home against the Saints.
Nice.
I think I feel better about starting Walker going forward. He's also more involved in the passing game as well. So maybe that foot injury just put him back and he wasn't completely ready for week 1. He definitely looked more explosive this week.
Let's talk with Jonathan Von Tobel here. We get to break down Monday Night Football with him, see what some early lines that he's looking at are for week 3. We're going to talk with him coming up next. Oh, appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday. Talking now with Jonathan Von Tobel here, on air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. Jonathan, welcome back to the show. Excited to break down Monday Night Football in the doubleheader, Week 3 look ahead lines, but also congrats to your Indianapolis Colts, by the way, because ever since you've come on here, it's been the Daniel Jones show. How you doing?
I mean, the Daniel Jones show or the Tyler Warren show, that dude is so freaking good. Outside of when Shane Steichen asked him to take a handoff from shotgun and convert a 4th and 1, the guy's been absolutely great. So it's been cool to see. I'm sure you guys have repeated the statistic as everybody haven't punted yet so far this year. That's probably due to a couple of 4th downs they went for it, but I think Steichen's a good play caller. I think they're a good offensive group. They've got a lot of good receivers. Maybe it makes it difficult from a fantasy perspective to see who's going to be the premier pass catcher that week, but it's a skilled offense that I think has some real danger to it in the AFC South.
No, it's good. I mean, we were talking too in the offseason. Maybe this is Daniel Jones' best, offense that he's played with, best team that he's played with, and they're 2-0 for the first time since 2009. So we have to keep it rolling, Jonathan. I love that for you and Colts fans all over the place. But we're breaking down, we've got the Monday night doubleheader. We've got the 7 p.m. Eastern start, 10 p.m. Eastern, which is why the West Coast is the best coast here, Jonathan, when we're talking about not having to stay up that late. Let's start with Tampa Bay and Houston. Just overall in that game, Houston Texans are favored in this one. Tampa Bay and the total sitting at 42.5. Anything that you like overall in this one to start things off?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. First off, for your audience, you can kind of get a sense of what the sharp folks like, the smart folks like in the market by just reading into the line. The fact that this has not gotten to 3 is a pretty good indication that this is a game that there is a belief if you put 3 out there, there's going to be some sharp people that swoop on it with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I like the Bucks. Not that I'm one of those sharp people, but I'm pretty high on the Buccaneers. I've got a ticket on them at 17-1 to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. I think that this team has really strong upside, especially when they're fully healthy on offense, when Wirfs is back, when Godwin's back. Of course, those two aren't going to be available. And I'm very anti-Texan. I think their offensive line has now proven again so far through one game, and then, of course, last year, that it's going to be a very below-average group. C.J. Stroud pressured on over 40% of his dropbacks again last week. Starting center is hurt. I think that all leads to the Bucs being able to, in a very low-scoring game, get this thing done against the Houston Texans. So I am on the Buccaneers side. And I'll throw one prop out there. I'm trying to find it. So I've been this year, one of my focuses for props has been, 1, bet a little bit more, but 2, play more of these defensive player props. If you could find, if you're not tracking like odds, things like that. And one of the ones that I'm trying to find is some more sack props for this game, because I like to play some of these guys that are on there, just pure pass rushers. You have dudes for Tampa Bay, like a Yaya Diaby, who in the first game played 38 pass rushing snaps, got 4 total pressures, got 2 quarterback hits. You're going to get some good plus prices on guys like that. Those are the dudes I'm trying to kind of dig for to get some pretty good odds on for a prop standpoint. So that's what I'm looking for. I haven't found a book that has it up yet, so I'm still digging for it.
The second game, Chargers in Vegas to take on the Raiders. What are your plays in this game?
Yeah, so I'm sitting. You guys can see me. Your radio audience can't. I do local radio, so I'm sitting here at Raider Nation Radio Studios right now. So I can't speak too loudly. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't heard more people that are on my side of the fence, which is I kind of think the Chargers are going to come out there and whoop them today. I don't like this Raider secondary. I don't think it's a particularly good group. If you look at the guys that played majority of the snaps last week in New England, they graded out pretty poorly by PFF and other standards, dropping back into coverage. And this is going to be a completely different animal. And again, to our point of looking out and saying, all right, look at the market. Where is it at? What's happening? There's a reason why this 3.5 hasn't disappeared. There is some sort of a desire to sit back and see if this number gets cheap for the Chargers. And that's why the books really aren't giving it to you. I think the Chargers come out here and win this game and cover that margin. Even a team total might be an option for you. But I think the side for me today is the Los Angeles Chargers. I laid it with them here.
Nice. We're talking again with Jonathan Von Tobel here, the on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. You can find him on Money Moves. You can find him on Countdown to Kickoff, Live Bet Sunday, and basically everywhere, Jonathan. That's where you are. I'm curious, any player props, like between both of them? I know you mentioned that you like Tampa Bay in this one going up. I mean, the Houston Texans, listen, you're right. The offensive line is just horrible. Los Angeles Chargers, too, have been throwing a lot more than probably people expected. It's been kind of that trend since we saw them after the bye week last season in 2024, where it's like, hey, they're just going to continue on. Omarion Hampton, we hope for fantasy managers, gets a little bit better. And we know that he's probably going to get into his own, but for them through the air, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think so. Passing yards for both games, I think, are pretty interesting. For Justin Herbert, his passing yard prop is a 254.5 minus 111 to the over. If you want to go there, you can get a small plus price on asking him to throw for 260 plus. I think this is going to be the strategy for them. You mentioned the increased volume, which looks like it's going to be part of the repertoire for this team as they move forward into this year. You're in friendly conditions, obviously playing indoors against Las Vegas, and I also, I again go back to it. They ship off Jacorian Bennett in the offseason. That secondary, I think, is going to be one of the worst in the NFL. And I don't think that not getting shredded by Drake May is something where you're going, we're great. Like, no, I think we want to see if this is really going to hold up this week. So Herbert over his passing yards or that 260 plus at plus 103. And on the flip side, going back to Tampa Bay and Houston from a quarterback and player prop standpoint, I am tempted at both of these guys, for both of them, CJ Stroud and Baker Mayfield, to go under those passing yards. Look, for Baker, this is a really good defense you're facing. I mean, this is one of the better ones in the NFL. The coverage is sticky. You're going to have to throw into some tight windows. As we mentioned, with Godwin, as we all know, this is a little bit of a thinner receiver core. I know Emeka Egbuka has looked really good, but I think you're going to go under that passing prop again if you're Baker going up against a front seven like this and a secondary like this. And on the flip side with Stroud, every time that kid snaps the ball, he's sprinting for his life. And I think that's not going to equate to some high number. So under the passing yards for both of those guys in an ugly game on Monday night, I think is also pretty tempting.
Looking ahead to week 3, anything stand out when you look initially?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of games. So this is one where in week 2, you don't want to overreact. And so you kind of want to play against some of those instances. For week 3, now we have multiple data points and we can kind of find out who these teams are. For one, I will go with the New England Patriots at home. They are small underdogs against the Pittsburgh Steelers next week. I'm going to call my shot. It's not that big of a shot. I think the Patriots will go off as small favorites by the time we get to kickoff this weekend. Going from 1.5 to 1.5 the other direction isn't that big of a move, but this Steelers team has problems on both sides of the ball. PFF was getting a lot of heat after week 1 because Aaron Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns, and everybody was freaking out because he was like the 23rd ranked quarterback. He had a low average depth of target. He was getting a lot of his yards after catch. And then this last week in Seattle, we saw a bunch of the same things, and their defense is shockingly poor. I think New England should be a favorite here at home. And if we're putting it at 1.5, home field advantage is not worth 3 anymore for your audience. It's now worth 1.5 points. That's what I price it at. So even putting New England at 1.5, it means these two teams are equals with one another. And then, I feel like this should be a theme when I talk to you guys, because last week I came on here and told you that I like the Colts.
Yes.
I think that I will take 3 with the Tennessee Titans at home against the Indianapolis Colts. They played the first 2 weeks at home. We can say maybe it's a charged environment playing at home the first 2 games. Jim Irsay passes away, all those sort of things, breaking in a new quarterback. I think Tennessee has proven to be a pretty strong defensive team through 2 weeks. We'll see if that carries over. But playing at home here, and the Colts, we should note, their secondary, I think, is a little bit of an issue. They were missing 2 guys in this last game. Bo Nix did have some success until he threw that pick. I think this is going to be a little bit of a different environment going on the road in a divisional game against a Tennessee team I think is pretty plucky. And I think we see the best Cam Ward that we have seen this season, too, because of that. So give me the Tennessee Titans. And I'd say hold out, too, because the Colts are shaded to that side. It's 3 minus 120. Wait for a 3.5 potentially for Tennessee.
Hey, good for Cam Ward potential managers and Alec Iomanner. He's been one that's been kind of sticking out to us as well on the waiver wire. So I love that. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us here. Good luck tonight, and we'll get to talk to you next week. Appreciate it.
Good to talk to you as always, guys. Thank you.
All right, there he goes. Jonathan Von Tobel, again, on-air host and betting analyst at VSiN. You can find him on Money Moves, Countdown to Kickoff, and Live Bet Sundays. So make sure you go give him a follow. We've got the Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight, Adam. Again, West Coast is best coast because I will be up for both of those.
We'll
10
see.
p.m. Eastern? That's crazy.
What if it starts late? Like if the first game
It won't
goes,
start late.
Yeah,
That's
well,
not-
there's
no,
a
it
chance it
won't.
starts
No,
10:15.
they'll do an overlap. They don't
No, they
care.
won't.
They won't?
No, they'll try and push it back.
No
Watch,
way.
you'll see. I hope it starts 10:20.
Stop. I can't even take you seriously. I really can't. I want to know Monday Night Miracles, though. I know doubleheader. We've got some key fantasy players playing tonight. So I want to see what people need to win. So make sure you send those in at Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis. I cannot take you seriously. At Adam Ronis over there on X. And then we're going to be breaking down these games. I want to know what our expectations are for these two tonight. We're going to break it down coming up next. Let's be real. You're here to win a fantasy championship. And guess what? You're not going to win playing it safe. You've got to go hard. And no one understands that better than Mike's Hard Lemonade. To succeed in fantasy, sometimes you got to take bold risks like reaching for a rookie, making that blockbuster trade, or blowing all your fab on a breakout player. And your league mates might roast you in the group chat, but legends do not play scared. They go hard, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade. So crack open a cold Mike's, kick back for a second, and remember, nobody makes lemonade like Mike's. Find Mike's nearest you at www.mikeshard.com. Mike's is hard, so is prison. Don't drive drunk. Premium malt beverage with flavors, all registered trademarks under license by Mike's Hard Lemonade Co., Chicago, Illinois. Monday Night Football doubleheader here coming up tonight, and they should be good games. Hopefully good games. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Houston Texans. Los Angeles Chargers, the second game of the night, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. If you need a Monday Night Miracle, let us know. At K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there. I know I need one in the college league that I'm in. That is the hardest place that I draft. I need 5 points. Well, it'd be nice to have more, but I need 5 from Emeka Egbuka tonight.
To win?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should get that. I'm pretty sure.
So too, but you never know, Adam. You never know. I'm playing against, first of all, I'm playing against my husband, which is funny enough, but he started Malik Nabers. So he got 37.7 out of Malik, but he had Justin Fields, James Conner didn't do anything. Drake London that was the one I was worried about the most, was Drake London last night. And he came up with 3 receptions for 49 yards, 5.9 scoring on ESPN. So I can't believe I'm in this game.
Had that drop to, the fumble where the ball got punched out, and the Falcons were just in control of that game. I mean, Penix only attempted 21 passes. They ran the ball 39 times. So you were unlucky if you had Drake London, because remember, he had, 54 targets in the first 4 games with Penix at quarterback. He had 4 last night, just 3 for 49. And lost that fumble. The Justin Fields, if you had Fields this week, and I did in a few leagues, that's just, it's crippling. It is. It's really difficult to win when your quarterback is giving you, what do you even get, 5, 6 points?
3.98
ESPN. It's just brutal. Just awful. So you really need big performances to overcome that. You need a St. Brown and a Puka and a Jonathan Taylor and a lot of those to overcome your quarterback performance by Fields this week.
What did Pitts do yesterday? Nothing, right? 7? What did he get? 7?
He had 4 for 37.
Yeah, there it is. So 7, 5 targets there. So I need, and I know a lot of people need, Emeka Egbuka. What are your expectations for both games? I mean, you can pick one or the other here. I know we talked through Tampa Bay, Houston, but just your expectations for both of these.
Yeah, I think the Bucs Texans could be a little bit of an ugly game. Baker Mayfield did not play well last week. He could have thrown several interceptions, and they were fortunate to win that game. And this is a really good Texans defense. So, and we talked about with Jonathan, the Texans offensive line issue. So I think that could be an ugly, low-scoring game. I think the Chargers-Raiders will be more entertaining. And look, the Chargers were really impressive against the Chiefs, but we've seen this before where they have these games and then they disappoint. So you would like to see some consistency out of them. Herbert looked really good. I think Hampton could have a better game here. And it looks like Brock Bowers is good to go. That was the latest report we got on Saturday. People are hoping that he plays. We've seen these setbacks, but that should be the better game to watch.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I'm interested. Justin Herbert taking that next step. He's looking right now early like he could have been the quarterback to take in that range. And that's something that we'll have to break down tomorrow. But he was looking good in week 1. Now you get a good, and I think this Raiders team too. I think their new pieces are setting together nicely. I think that they are going to move the ball better than we expected. So these should both be great games. As always, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. Good luck tonight. Hopefully you win those matchups. We'll be back same time here tomorrow. Have a great night.